The Shepnaz Podcast begins now.
Welcome to the Shepnaz Podcast. I'm Joe, and I'm your host today, and we are continuing our series on the 21 most effective prayers in the Bible, and we are currently on day 3, and we have with us Phyllis Rinehart, who is going to be sharing the devotional with us, but also she does a lot of things here around the church. And for those of you that don't know her, it was probably a month or so ago, we had her husband Larry on the podcast, and he shared kind of a miraculous story in his life. And I know he's shared it so many times at this point that he's kind of tired of even sharing it, but nonetheless, he's still very thankful for how the Lord carried him through a motorcycle accident. And if you're curious about that, you can go back and listen to that. Oftentimes, he is known as being your husband, but today you get to be known as being his wife. Mm-hmm. And so, Phyllis, welcome in and tell us a little bit about what you do here at the church for those that aren't aware.
Well, I'm the artist, kind of. I do all the graphics, and I do chalkboards and signage and some stuff on social media, web page, slides, that sort of thing.
Yes.
Keeps me very busy.
And so we get the opportunity to kind of work off of each other's work quite a bit. Sometimes you'll be doing some graphics and you'll send them my way, and I can incorporate them in video and all that kind of stuff. And so we have a lot of good back and forth between that.
A little side note for, you talked about my husband. Mm-hmm. Today's January 3rd when you're listening to this. It's our 10th anniversary, January.
Well, congratulations.
3rd, which is 10. The 10th anniversary, you give a gift made out of 10.
I see. Yes. All right.
It's been a long time since your 10th anniversary. But
actually, it has been. Yes. We're working on 32 right now.
And I also, speaking of his accident, for Christmas, I always give him a painting, a little 12 by 12 painting of something that happened that year. And so he had asked me to do him on his motorcycle with an angel protecting him. Mm-hmm. Which is not something I would normally do. So when you see most motorcycle art, they have the angel shows up frequently in motorcycle art if you go to the Harley store. But they show up angels, but they're usually beautiful women. And he said he felt like an angel was protecting him during his accident. He said, but my angel didn't look like the women at the Harley store. It looks more like Josh Alshire. Big beard. And he said that's what the angel looked like that protected me. So I did a painting of him with an angel that looks like Josh Alshire, and I just gave it to him for Christmas. So he's planning on showing that to Josh.
I was going to say, I definitely want to be able to have a chance to see that. I think I would really enjoy that.
Yeah. But anyway, that little side note. Sorry about that. But January 3rd.
For everyone that is trying to make connections, especially for our Johnstown campus, tell us a little bit how you're connected to the Johnstown campus.
Well, my daughter's Cheney. She's the video announcement girl. And she's married to Nick. And Nick and Cheney are leading the campus at Johnstown right now. They just started in the summer sometime.
Yeah,
I can't remember.
Around
September.
August, I think. Yeah, actually, he was there for a couple weeks and then really got full on in September. Yeah.
Yep.
All right, so that brings us to today. We're looking into chapter 3, and you're covering the prayer of Moses. So,
prayer of Moses.
We'd love for you to share with us.
Okay. I went in and talked to my daughter last night. She's recovering from foot surgery, and I'm having to take care of her constantly. And I told her I had the prayer of Moses, and I said, what do you think that would be? What would his most famous prayer? And she guessed it. She said, well, he was with all those whiny people, and he had to lead them across through deep waters. Mm-hmm. So probably he was like, God, be with me. And that's the prayer. Go with us, the prayer of Moses. And that was exactly what this was about, this whole chapter. But I also read the introduction, And the author, Dave Earley, he gives, we're on chapter 3. He gives some hints about how to do this successfully and stay online. And one of the hints was to memorize each of these prayers as you go. And they're only a few words each. He takes a little section out of each prayer and kind of built off of that. And I was a Bible quizzer when I was a kid and a teenager. I was a really good teen quizzer, and I memorized a lot of things. And it does help to stretch you. He also talks about picking an amount of time that will stretch you when you're reading and doing this 21 days. Because even if you don't maintain afterwards, if it only lasts for 21 days, you've still stretched yourself a little bit, and it's caused you to grow. And so it just reminded me of, and I thought, well, maybe I should try to memorize these prayers out. Well, what I'll do. And I used to do flashcards for memorizing, and my memory verses. I had the whole book of Acts memorized by reference when I was a junior in high school.
I'm now envisioning this scene with Larry on a couch with a wood box, pulling cards out while you're being quizzed.
He would be a bad quizzer. He's not a detail person, but he's a big picture person. But anyway, I did make cards for the first 3 days, which you've just talked about, and I was just wondering, Joe, if you'd be able to remember what the prayer was for each one. If I show you a flashcard, if I showed you the name, would you be able to remember the prayer? Or if I showed you the prayer, would you be able to remember the name for the 3 that we've done so far?
Well, let's see. Well, I'll give it a shot. Now, as long as you're not asking me to quote the entire prayer.
No, just the line that he used in his title, which is the prayer.
All right.
So, okay. I'm going to mix them up a little bit.
All right. I'm going to make sure you're on camera so that we can see the cards. All right.
Okay. So I'm going to make it hard. I'm going to give you the person and see if you remember the prayer.
All right.
Okay. This is from today.
Well, that one's Moses. So I don't know yet, because we really haven't got into it, but you did say that he would go with us. That God would go with us.
Day 3 is go with us.
Yes.
Good job. He got that one right.
All right.
So this is when you're memorizing, you put the pile you did right in one pile, and if you get it wrong, you have to do it over again. So, okay. This one, Jacob. This Pastor Brianna shared this on yesterday's episode, and it was Bless Me, I think. Yes, okay. It was Bless Me. All right. Bless Me. I wrote a little bit more. I wrote, I will not let you go unless you bless me, because I kind of wanted to remember that whole thing. Nice. But Bless Me is the verse for Jacob. So he got that right, so he gets to go in this pile. All right. Then, we'll find out if I'm 3 for 3. I know. We'll see. This was day 1. This is actually in chronological order of the Bible. All these people. Okay. So this is the prayer of Eliezer, and I can tell you what his prayer is about. So he was going to have to go find a wife for Jacob, and he was asking God to show me who the right woman is. Now, I don't know his exact words, but basically he was saying, give me wisdom so that I would know the right person. How close am I? Said, give me success. Okay, success. All right. Give me success today. So I'm going to have to ask him again. All right, this was the bad pile. Okay, Eliezer. Give me success. Good. All right. All right. Great. You've done it. So maybe I'll do this. And I think that when Cheney comes here on the 9th day, I might have her give you a quiz again, or whoever's interviewing. It might not be you. The cards, and I'll quiz her on. If you serve in any area at Shepherd, or if you're interested in getting plugged in as a volunteer, you're invited to a time of team building and fun. On January 7th at 4:30 p.m.,
we are hosting a one-team rally at the Gahanna campus. This will be a time for our various teams to join together, fellowship, and hear what's coming down the pike at Shepherd. That's this coming Sunday afternoon at 4:30 p.m.
All right, so that's a little hint about memorizing in case that's the hint that you want to pick up for growing through this. But as far as Moses was concerned, this was his prayer. He was had all these Israelites camping, and he hadn't led them out of the wilderness yet. And so they talk about Moses having a tent. He would take a tent and pitch it outside of the camp some distance away, calling it his tent of meeting. And so that was, and the people would stand and worship. They could see the cloud outside the fence, outside the tent. And they knew he was praying at that time. So they talk about Moses having a place that he went to pray and how that's a good thing to have. However, some of my thoughts about that was that it would be really nice to have a tent where you could go outside away from all your family and disturbances, because I've been disturbed by my family my whole life, and I've never had a tent that could go off. So we're all kind of, I thought, we're all kind of nomads in tents. Throughout life, we have different places that we can go to get away. And so during my life, I've had a lot of different seasons where I had different places that prayer worked. So sometimes it's in my bed at night. Sometimes it's on the motorcycle, on the back of the motorcycle. That was a great time to pray because you can't talk to each other. You can't do anything else but listen to the roar of the road. So that's a good prayer time. So that's a good prayer closet. I tried a prayer closet for a while after I watched the movie War Room.
Yeah.
So I've still got my stickers up on the wall, but it's never really stuck with me. I didn't continue with that. But and as a young person, I played the piano, and I would pray while I played. I remember doing that. So that was kind of my tent. But I just think it changes throughout life. You know, you have different places where prayer works.
Sometimes my tent is my truck. You know, I will turn the radio off and just kind of be in the quiet of the moment, and I'm in that isolated time. And sometimes it's as much about listening as it is about talking. And it's just, okay, what do you have for me? And what should I be thinking about? What should I be working on? What should I be doing? And just kind of giving that time to listen. So yeah, I can really relate to having that kind of that little tabernacle, that tent of meeting of where is that place that you can be just to be set aside and to have that alone time. Definitely we saw with Jesus so many times that he wanted to get away from the crowd just to be alone with the Father, and he might go up a hillside or he might go out onto the sea to be alone for a little bit, so we can see the importance in that. Right.
Jesus didn't have a family to take care of. I think that really compacts your time. But when I'm thinking about the car, during the stages of life where you have a commute, you know, I commute 1 mile now. I don't commute. So the car is not a place I'm consistently, but I did have times in my life where it was like 45-minute commute to work every day. And that was a good prayer closet during those seasons of life.
Sure.
So, yeah, car's a great place, a great tent. Also, another thought was on the whining, that Moses was surrounded by these whiners. They didn't like the desert. They didn't like the food, all that. And my thought on that was that everybody whines. I mean, even Moses, when he's praying right here, out of his friendship with God, Moses voiced his complaint.
He's whining about the whiners.
He's whining about the whiners. So when you're friends with people, that's part of your conversation. It's going to be some whining. So I don't think we need to really feel too guilty about whining, just as long as it's not the main course. You know, you got to have
just a side of wine.
Yes, just a side of wine. So that was one thing that I thought about when they have this little portion about whining, and also he says to God, I want you to go with me. So this was his prayer. You have said, I know you by name, and you have found favor with me. If you are pleased with me, teach me your ways so I may know you and continue to find favor with you. Remember that this nation is your people. The Lord replied, my presence will go with you, and I will give you rest. Then Moses said to him, if your presence does not go with us, that's a prayer. Do not send us up from here. And then he said, again, he asked, again in the later verse 16, he again said, how will anybody know that you are pleased with me and with your people unless you go with us? What else distinguishes me from all the other people on the face of the earth? And so he was just making the point of people, when God is with a person, you can sometimes often tell that God is with them. And he goes through, he came down from being with God, and his face was glowing and he was radiant when he came down off of the mountain carrying the 10 Commandments. So he talks about, there's this whole section about how people, when God covers them like a cloud, it's almost like they have a perfume or a scent of having God with them. And that's the benefit. His attendance sets us apart. His companionship marks us. It makes our face radiant. It covers us. It gives us a scent. And so having God with us is important for those reasons. And then I also liked his list of benefits. Like if you go get a job, you get your list of benefits. This is a list of benefits of having God with you: individual protection and provision, deliverance and transformation. He goes through all this list of benefits. And I thought it was good. Then he also went through several well-known Christian leaders down through time who have been marked and had stories about how people recognized God being with them, and it made them influential. He said Charles Finney, who is, and he had some stories about him, and D.L. Moody, and some stories about him, just people recognizing God in his life and how the impact that made on other people. And then it had, of course, John Wesley, one of the most influential. And it reminded me that when I was at General Assembly this summer, I got for a Christmas present for my son-in-law, Nick, Pastor Nick. I got him a John Wesley mug. It was a mug, and it said, were you at General Assembly?
No.
Well, they had these mugs, and people, they ran out of them. They didn't order enough of them, and people were just lined up wanting to get them. And you had to get a subscription to Holiness Today in order to get a mug. And that was kind of pricey. But I got a mug, and it was John Wesley on the front, and it said, strangely warmed on the back. Because John Wesley, that's one of his most famous quotes, that when he became a Christian, he was not a very feeling person. He didn't have a lot of feelings. But he said that when he prayed this prayer, he felt strangely warmed. And, that was good for a coffee mug. So I gave that to Nick for Christmas, and he loved it. I think it was his favorite Christmas present.
Nice.
And then I looked last night, and they have them. Somebody has them on Etsy. Has taken off from that, and they have John Wesley mugs that say "Strangely Warmed."
Well, there you go.
In case you would like to get one.
A little plug for that. Phyllis is working on commission on John Wesley mugs, and that's the next career step.
Right.
So I'll make a little caveat about Moses' prayer, and, kind of a differentiation between kind of his prayer and how we can relate to that prayer today. A couple days ago, when on Pastor Rob's episode, he was talking about, sometimes it seems silly if we pray, God be with this person, because he's omnipresent. So he's everywhere all the time anyhow. So when Moses is talking about this, God, be with us, it's not just a matter of him being around, because God is everywhere. He's omnipresent. And but what he's really, getting at is this manifest presence, like what you were talking about, where it's noticeable by other people. And so as believers today, we know that we have God's presence in our life. The Holy Spirit indwells us. So everywhere we go, we're taking God with us, but there's oftentimes a difference between what we know as his indwelling presence and this manifest presence. And and that's really kind of what Moses is talking about here. Is like, man, we just want your presence to be so manifest that when other people that aren't even related to us, don't even know anything about the nation of Israel, they look at us and go, wow, that's God. God is with them. And you were going through those lists of people, and it kind of, in my head, I was kind of going through some modern day people that, and I definitely would have maybe put Billy Graham in that category of how even world leaders wanted to have him close by, like in times of crisis or anything, because somehow they just noticed that the presence of God was so manifest in his life that other people would be like, well, if I want to be close to God, I think I should have this guy around me.
It's a comfort, a comforting presence. Yes.
And so that maybe can be an application for us, that we're praying this prayer of, God, would you be with us in such a way? And even for our church, God, would you be with us in such a way that it is noticeable to the people around us? Right. So I want to give you a chance, like if there's some closing thoughts. We've got some great next steps here to make flashcards. I think that's a great idea.
Flashcards. Order a John Wesley mug.
That's another next step, is to get a John Wesley mug.
So that you have the warmth. The warmth.
The strange warmth.
Strangely warmed.
Yes.
Aroma of God being with you.
All right.
It's a good.
Well, I really appreciate you coming in today and sharing with us. We're going to continue our series on the 21 most effective prayers of the Bible, and I hope you will either catch up if you've missed some of them and stick with us as we progress through these, and share this with a friend. If you want to keep up with everything that's going on at the church, go to shepnaz.org. Also follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. For Phyllis, I'm Joe. Have a great day. This podcast is a production of the Shepherd Church of the Nazarene, Gahanna, Ohio. Email to podcast@shepnaz.org and let us know what you think.